Hello and welcome. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up over the next hour or so, emotional scenes upon landing home for 24 inmates in the biggest prisoner swap deal since the start of the Cold War. US President Joe Biden cocks a snook at Donald Trump, hating Western allies for their cooperation.
This deal would not have been made possible without our allies. Germany, Poland, Slovenia, Norway, and Turkey, they all stepped up and they stood with us.
US President Biden says killing of Hamas's political chief Haniyeh has not been helpful for the ceasefire after speaking with Israel's Netanyahu. Hezbollah fires dozens of rockets towards Israel late on Thursday night. The US recognizes Nicolas Maduro's opponent Edmundo Gonzalez as the winner of Venezuela's disputed presidential election. Brazil, Mexico and Colombia call for Venezuela to release full vote tallies. And in sports, Manu Bhaker and Isha Singh compete in the women's 25 pistol qualification rounds. Lakshya Sen to battle it out for the semi-final spot as well. Indian hockey team to take on Australia in pool match. Well, the United States and Russia completed a 24-person prisoner swap on Thursday, the largest in post-Soviet history, with Moscow releasing Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich and fellow American Paul Whelan in a multinational deal that set some 24 people free. Take a look at this report.
On a warm, steamy night, the freed Americans lingered on the tarmac at Joint Base Andrews to soak up the moment of their return to US. In a poignant display of emotion, tears of joy, US President Joe Biden, along with Vice President Kamala Harris, greeted the three American nationals released by Russia in a historic prisoner swap deal. The United States and Russia completed a 24-person prisoner swap on Thursday, the largest in post-Soviet history. West, including the US, released 16 Russian nationals, while Russia released 8 people. Biden termed it as a new feat of diplomacy, while Vice President Kamala Harris called the deal an extraordinary testament.
My job is to make sure, number one, they don't get them, and if they do, we get them back. I don't buy this idea that you're going to let these people rot in jail because other people may be captured. We will set out all the notifications to all the other countries, all our citizens, what countries not to go to, what to do, what not to do, and they got to pay attention. I got more work to do.
I'm very thankful for our president and what he has done over his entire career, but in particular as it relates to these families and these individuals, what he has been able to do to bring the allies together on many issues, but in particular this one. This is just an extraordinary testament.
High-level negotiations involved European allies and significant concessions, including resulting in the release of Russian assassin Vadim Krasikov by Germany.
I spoke to President Biden on the phone, who is very thankful for the cooperation of our two countries in this important matter. For the United States, it was especially important to see Wall Street Journal journalist Evan Gershkovich and ex-Marine Paul Whelan in freedom, in close and trusting cooperation with the United States and European partners. After months of confidential talks with the Russian side, it was now possible to release 15 people who were illegally held as political prisoners in Russia.
On the other side, Russian President Putin also met the returnees as they arrived.
I want to congratulate you all on your return to your homeland. Now, I want to address those of you who are directly involved in military service. I want to thank you for your loyalty to the oath, to your duty and your homeland, which has never forgotten you for a minute. And now you are home. All of you will be nominated for state awards.
Among the prisoners released by Russia, 3 are the US citizens. US journalist Evan Gershkovich was sentenced to 16 years after being convicted on espionage charges. The Wall Street Journal reporter was first arrested last March while on a reporting trip in the city of Yekaterinburg, 1,000 miles east of Moscow. Paul Whelan was given a 16-year jail sentence in 2020 after being arrested in Moscow on suspicion of spying in 2018. The ex-US Marine is a citizen of 4 countries: the US, Canada, the UK and Ireland. Russian-American journalist Alzu Kurmasheva was sentenced to 6.5 years in a medium security prison after a secret trial. She was an editor for Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, which is funded by the US government, and was convicted of spreading false information about the Russian military. The historic largest prisoner exchange between Russia and the West in decades could help US President Joe Biden burnish his foreign policy legacy in his waning months in office and boost Vice President Kamala Harris in her bid for the White House. Trump, however, was quick to question the deal and alleged that it involved exchange of money, a charge that White House subsequently denied. DD India reports.
It's been the biggest story since last evening when it happened. Now DD India's Dasha Chernashova joins us for more on it from Moscow. Good afternoon to you, Dasha. Is the Western sense of triumph and relief being reflected by the public reception of the prisoners by the likes of Joe Biden in the US also mirrored in Russia?
Well, there is certain understanding that this prisoner swap is indeed the triumph of negotiations, because it is taking place when the ties between Russia and the West are at the lowest level, and everybody understands how difficult it was to negotiate any possible prisoner exchange. Now, the Russian lawmaker Maria Butina, who used to be herself convicted in the US and has said that it is a very important victory for the negotiations, and she also said that the US has lost in these negotiations, saying that the list of people who were sent from Russia to the Western countries is indicating that there will be questions to those people in the West from the Western governments, because this list includes not just the US nationals such as Evan Gershkovich or Paul Whelan, but also the Russian political dissidents who have been labeled as foreign agents here in Russia and who have been sentenced to prison time. In Russia, there is a very clear understanding that what's at stake here is that the return of the Russian nationals who have been serving for the well-being of Moscow for decades, and that is what matters at the moment. However, there are also questions as to why it was so important for Russia to bring back some of the people on the list, including Vadim Krasikov. The understanding is that he was top of those wanted in Moscow, and obviously there is a lot of understanding that it was very important for Moscow, given the very fact that Vladimir Putin himself traveled at night to the Vnukovo airport to meet those returning from the Western countries, and said that it will be time soon when they will be talking about the future of those prisoners. At the same time, the authorities here also underlined that there are still many of the Russian nationals who are kept in prisons in the US and other Western countries, and the work will continue.
Okay. Now, has the criminal given out any more information or opinion on how this deal got worked out, and what does it really mean for other possibilities of diplomacy getting an upper hand over conflict, for instance, in the case of Ukraine?
Well, obviously, Russia has always maintained that any negotiations of a kind have to be kept in secrecy and they should not be made public. And this is what we have seen. This deal has been conducted in secrecy, and there were some hints, there were some indications that the possible swap was in the pipeline. For instance, the expedition of the trial for Evan Gershkovich, Wall Street Journal reporter accused of espionage in Russia. The Kremlin didn't provide much detail with regards to how the deal has proceeded. We've heard, however, from the Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko, who said that the exchange between Russia, US and Germany was negotiated solely through the lines of the special services, and Belarus has managed to provide, he said, the assistance they have had an opportunity to provide. He also has said that the US president had no relation to the organization of this exchange and is only trying to build up his authority with what has happened. At the same time, there are obviously hopes that the deal shows that the sides can actually negotiate, that they do have the channels through which they can conduct and maintain dialogue. But at the same time, many analysts say that the audience should lower the expectations, because obviously it is not easy to find common ground between the countries that say their relations are at the lowest level.
All right, Dr. Cherishova, thank you for joining us from Moscow. Let's also bring in Professor Anshu Joshi, Center for American Studies at the Jawaharlal Nehru University, for more on this. Good afternoon to you, Professor Joshi. Now, clearly, there is reasonable ground to expect that this sort of triumph of diplomacy will be taken forward in areas where there has been little success so far, where talks are concerned, be it Ukraine or even other disputes or conflicts.
Definitely, Gautam, and we can clearly see that how in the times of open hostility between United States of America and Russia, this is a remarkable achievement and a big victory for diplomacy, as Biden has also stated, and it can be seen as a breakthrough between both relations of both Russia and United States of America. The biggest prisoner swap in the history since the Cold War era, wherein we can see that how notable people from both the sides have been released, and Turkey has mediated in this particular release. And as you asked, yes, it should be seen as a window of opportunity, wherein that's what India also keeps reiterating, that the nations should never shut the diplomatic doors. And we can see that different conflicts are right now on in different parts of the world, including this Russia-Ukraine war and what is happening between Israel and Hamas in the Levant region. So definitely taking an example, taking a cue from here, all the nations can take a learning and can learn from here, and can take such kind of similar issues onto the diplomatic table and can find out the plausible solutions for similar cases.
Right, let's hope that this sense of positivity is taken forward, and the negatives that people are expecting might arise from it. For example, people are also saying that this could lead to more and more people being held captive as well in hostile countries when they visit them, and then their future can be negotiated upon. But let's hope that does not happen. Thank you for joining us for the moment, Professor Joshi. Now, Russia's aviation units conducted patrols with dummy munitions as part of nuclear drills. Russia's defense ministry said that its aviation units practiced installing special dummy warheads on launch vehicles as part of the third stage of tactical nuclear weapons exercises. The exercises were ordered by Russian President Vladimir Putin in response to perceived threats from Western nations. This development underscores the growing tension between Russia and Western nations with potential global implications. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Donald Trump tries to play down the furor over his VP pick J.D. Vance's recent comments, says historically running mates have had virtually no impact on the US presidential elections. At least 3 protesters have been killed in Nigeria's Kaduna state as demonstrators rallied nationwide against the rising cost of living and governance issues.
This summer, the world turns its eyes to Paris, and DD India brings you every heartbeat, every victory, and every story. Introducing our special coverage of the Paris Olympics. Experience the passion, the drama, and the triumphs. With exclusive reports, expert analysis, and up-to-the-minute updates. Join us as we bring the spirit of the Olympics to your screens.
Get ready for the ultimate sporting extravaganza on DD India.
DD India presents Champions Day Paris. Only on DD India. Every day at 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, US President Joe Biden spoke to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and reaffirmed his commitment to Israel's security against all threats. The White House on Thursday said that the leaders discussed new US military deployments to support Israel against threats such as missiles and drones.
I'm very concerned about it. I had a very direct meeting with Prime Minister today, and very direct. We have the basis for a ceasefire. He should move on it, and they should move on it now.
Meanwhile, responding to a question on the death of Hamas's leader Ismail Haniyeh, Joe Biden said that his assassination has not helped the ceasefire talks. There's been an increased risk of an escalation into a broader West Asian crisis after the assassination of Haniyeh in Iran drew threats of retaliation against Israel. Meanwhile, Iran officials and its regional allies from Lebanon, Iraq and Yemen held a meeting on Thursday after the killing of the Hamas leader in Tehran. The Tehran region is at risk of widening conflict between Iran, Israel and its proxies after Ismail Haniyeh's assassination on Wednesday. Israel's National Security Council has also warned Israelis to exercise extra caution while traveling abroad and said Iran or its allies Hamas and Hezbollah could target Israeli or Jewish institutions outside the country. And terror group Hezbollah has fired dozens of rockets towards Israeli territory in the late hours of Thursday. A top Hezbollah commander was killed in an Israeli airstrike in the Lebanese capital days after Israel accused Hezbollah of attacking Golan Heights. The Israeli Defense Forces said that there was no damage or casualties. It also said that only 5 of the barrage of rockets could enter Israel and the rest were intercepted. In response, the Israeli forces struck a Hezbollah rocket launcher in southern Lebanon's Yatir, which was being used to fire a barrage at the western Galilee. Let's get to more on the rising tensions in the region with DD India's Trent Murray joining us from Beirut in Lebanon. Good afternoon to you, Trent. Has there been an exodus from Beirut in the first place in the rest of the country after multiple countries, including India, issued advisories to their diaspora, their citizens, to leave?
Yeah, good afternoon. That's right. India joining a host of other nations advising their citizens to leave, including the United States, most European countries, Australia as well. And that is because many diplomats around the world are very concerned right now around these rising tensions and the escalation that we could see. What I can tell you is from Beirut's perspective, life really does go on here. This is a city of 2.5 million people. For Lebanese living here, they are quite experienced hearing the sort of strong rhetoric and the threats that are often made against Hezbollah. But I think for many here, they do know that this does feel a little bit different. It got very different back on Tuesday when we saw that airstrike here in the southern part of the city, the real stronghold of where Hezbollah is based. Of course, the context we need to remember is that Hezbollah and Israel have really been fighting for the past 9 months, since October 8th. Rockets and projectiles being fired by both sides, but it had largely been contained to that border area in the south of this country and in the north of Israel. But it does feel like now that the sort of unwritten rules of engagement have changed, given that airstrike that we saw in Beirut against that senior Hezbollah military commander. The leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, making a speech overnight here saying Israel can expect a response, a very real response, not a symbolic one.
And the IDF, Trent, has said that the latest barrage of rockets fired by the Hezbollah towards Israel has had almost no impact. Now, what's the Hezbollah saying or planning to do?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we understand around 60 missiles and projectiles were fired overnight from southern Lebanon into northern Israel. As you said, the Israelis are saying that they largely were able to intercept all of them. But I think the big question this morning or this afternoon is, was that sort of a warm-up act for something bigger that may be yet to come. We need to remember, of course, Israel has been locked in a battle with Hamas in Gaza now for 9 months, but Hezbollah is a very different sort of scale or foe for the Israelis. They are thought to have between 130 and 150,000 rockets, and all sides would agree that if they were to lock themselves into a major conflict, that it would be absolutely devastating for both sides, which is why we understand, as you say, those diplomats from India, from Europe, from the United States are working really hard right now to try and de-escalate tensions, because it really does feel at this point that this entire region is on the brink of something much bigger and much more catastrophic.
Let's hope that better sense can prevail and diplomacy again works its magic like it's done in the case of the prisoner swap. Trent Murray, thank you for joining us from Beirut for the time being. Now, amid the ongoing tension in the parts of the Middle East, Air India on Friday said that it has suspended its flights to and from Tel Aviv in Israel with immediate effect. The airline has also said that it is suspending flight operations up till the 8th of this month and is monitoring the situation on an ongoing basis. Further, Air India has also extended support to passengers with confirmed bookings for travel to and from Tel Aviv during the period, with a one-time waiver on rescheduling and cancellation charges. Elsewhere, as the political unrest in Venezuela continues over election results, more leaders have called on the country to release detailed voting tallies. Presidents of Brazil, Mexico and Colombia called for Venezuela to release the tally details on Thursday as the dispute over presidential election results sparked protests. The current presidents of Brazil, Colombia and Mexico have adopted a more neutral stance on the election as countries around the world call for release of full tallies.
Esta tarde los presidentes de Colombia,
Presidents of Colombia, Brazil and Mexico, along with their foreign ministers, discussed the past presidential elections in Venezuela. The leaders got together to keep on working on options that give the international accompaniment the Venezuelan people need right now, always respecting their sovereignty, and that allows for a definitive solution for the current controversies. Colombian President Gustavo Petro also talked with the Chilean President Gabriel Boric, who agreed on what Colombia, Brazil and Mexico said in their statement. From Colombia, we'll stay attentive and ready to offer our good services in favor of political peace and democracy in the region.
Meanwhile, the United States on Thursday announced that it has recognized opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez as the winner of Venezuela's presidential election. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that Edmundo Gonzalez won the most votes in Venezuela's 28th of July presidential election. Venezuela's electoral authority has declared President Nicolas Maduro as the winner of that election, a result that has been derided as implausible by the opposition, independent pollsters and many foreign governments. Former U.S. President Donald Trump declared that the selection of U.S. Senator J.D. Vance as his running mate will not have any impact on the 2024 White House race. Trump made the comments during a combative interview at the annual convention of the National Association of Black Journalists in Chicago. Trump's remarks have sparked off discussions among political analysts and commentators.
Speaking to the National Association of Black Journalists, Donald Trump raised eyebrows when he said of Kamala Harris, quote, "I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black, so I don't know. Is she Indian or is she black?" Questioning the race of his political opponent has seen Donald Trump come under intense scrutiny, with the White House calling his comments both repulsive and insulting. Harris avoided responding directly to specific comments, but described Donald Trump's onstage interview as the same old show of divisiveness and disrespect. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, has been targeting Democrats on the issue of immigration from the U.S. southern border in Arizona. Vance, attacking Kamala Harris, said it's hard to believe until you see it with your own eyes just how bad the policies of the Kamala Harris administration have been when it comes to the southern border. Kamala Harris is expected to name a vice presidential candidate in the coming days and will hold her first rally alongside her chosen running mate next Tuesday local time in Philadelphia. Mitch McCann in New York, reporting for DD India.
3 states in Nigeria have imposed curfews after protests against the government turned violent. Thousands of people across the country took part in demonstrations demanding reforms to address current economic struggles. DD India's Haniyeh has this report.
The northern states of Borno, Kano and Yobe declared a 24-hour curfew to prevent the escalation of violence. Incidents of violence were reported in the northern part of the country, where public infrastructure was vandalized and looted, while vehicles were set ablaze. Police fired several rounds of tear gas in many parts of the country, including the capital Abuja, to disperse protesting crowds. Protesters expressed their anger and frustration over the poor state of the economy, carrying placards with inscriptions like "End Bad Governance" and "Enough is enough" to hunger and hardship. The government had pushed for the protests to be cancelled, but Nigerians insisted on holding the demonstrations, saying reforms introduced by President Bola Tinubu have led to economic hardship. The government's removal of a subsidy in May last year has led to a sharp rise in fuel prices, which in turn has caused an increase in transportation costs, food prices and overall inflation. The protests are the first big demonstrations by Nigerians since the End SARS movement against police brutality in 2020. The rallies are expected to last for 10 days as Nigerians demand accountability, the reinstatement of petrol subsidy, among other political issues. Nigeria's government has appealed for more time to address economic challenges, adding that it does not want the protests to reverse the progress it says it has made in the last year. Ajek Mangut in Abuja, reporting for DD India.
Let's now take a look at some other stories making news around the world. A disoriented adult dolphin was spotted swimming along the Thames River in London. Earlier this year, 3 other distressed dolphins didn't survive. Marine experts are concerned over the unusual presence of dolphins so far upriver, indicating potential distress. Firefighters continue battling the park fire in Butte County, California, one of the largest wildfires currently burning in the state. The fire has burned more than 600 square miles so far. Wildfire activity in California is much higher this time than last year, owing to climate change. According to a new scientific study, the recent climate change impacts have sped up glacial retreat in South American range of Andes far earlier than expected. The study reveals that these glaciers are more susceptible to changing weather since they're consistently at or near freezing point. And still to come on DD India News are: India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi stresses on the role of governors of states in development and serving the society in the Governors' Conference in Delhi. And military helicopters are pressed into service to rescue stranded Kedarnath pilgrims after torrential rains batter India's hill states. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Before going any further, another look at our top stories. Emotional scenes upon landing home for 24 inmates in the biggest prisoner swap deal in the post-Soviet Union era. US President Joe Biden cocks a snook at Trump, hailing Western allies for their cooperation. US President Biden says killing of Hamas's political chief Haniyeh has not been helpful for the ceasefire after speaking with Israel's Netanyahu. Hezbollah fires dozens of rockets towards Israel late on Thursday night. And the US recognizes Nicolas Maduro's opponent Edmundo Gonzalez as the winner of Venezuela's disputed presidential election. Brazil, Mexico and Colombia call for Venezuela to release full vote tallies. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the Conference of Governors on Friday, and taking to social media platform X, the PM said, and I quote, that this is an important forum in which we discussed how governors can foster development and serve society. And Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate the 32nd International Conference of Agricultural Economists to be held on the 3rd of August in New Delhi. The event will focus on sustainable agriculture, agri-food systems and India's advancements in agriculture. Triennial conference will be held from the 2nd of August till the 7th this year. The ICAE is being held in India after 65 years. Theme for this year's conference is Transformation towards Sustainable Agri-Food Systems. The event aims to tackle pressing need for sustainable agriculture in the face of global challenges. The conference will highlight India's proactive approach to global agricultural challenges. The ICAE 2024 will serve as a platform for young researchers and leading professionals to present their work and network with global peers. It aims to strengthen partnerships between research institutes and universities. The conference will witness participation of around 1,000 delegates from 75 countries. Relief and rescue operations are being carried out on a massive scale in the southern state of Kerala. A C-130J Super Hercules of the Indian Air Force with a specialized drone and team sent to Calicut. This drone will further be sent to Wayanad to assist in rescue operations. The official records state that the death toll is now 201, with fears of the numbers going further up. Rescue teams are working tirelessly under challenging conditions to look for survivors of the disaster. Though the terrain is difficult, there is destroyed infrastructure to contend with. These are proving to be roadblocks in the operations. India's weather agency has predicted heavy downpour for Wayanad and several other districts in the upcoming week. And the Indian Met Department has issued a red alert for extremely heavy rains in parts of Uttarakhand as heavy overnight rains triggered flooding in India's hill state. The centre has dispatched 2 Indian Air Force helicopters, a Chinook and a Mi-17, to aid rescue operations in the state. Taking stock of the situation, Prime Minister Modi assured Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami of all necessary assistance. The Kedarnath Yatra has been suspended amid deteriorating weather conditions as the heavy downpours triggered landslides at many places. Choppers are being used to evacuate pilgrims stuck between Gaurikund and Kedarnath. And rescue operations are also underway in the northern state of Himachal Pradesh, another hill state, to trace more than 48 people missing following flash floods triggered by cloudbursts in 3 districts, while 29 people are stranded at the site of a power project in Kullu district. They've been rescued safely by authorities. According to reports, more than 20 homes, 6 shops, 4 main and 2 footbridges have been washed away after the cloudburst incident, and road connectivity has been hampered in the affected areas. Let's now get you more updates from these 2 regions, the hill states as well as in Kerala. We've got Nandini Mittal joining us from Shimla, and from Kerala we have Suneet Sukumaran. First, if I could come to you, Suneet, just given an update on the sense of how things are going, where the rescue and relief operations are concerned in Wayanad, and what is being done to ensure that those who might have survived, although there's very little hope now, still have a chance to come out of it.
Gautam, despite heavy rain and challenging terrain, the rescue operation is still underway. As you can see in the visuals, like more than 60 rescue team are operational, and they are working in 6 different sectors. Right now, I'm standing here in Churalmalal town, one of the worst hit areas, where you can see a lot of JCBs and Hitachis are still functioning. Their main focus is to get to retrieve the dead bodies from this debris. That's their main focus, because yesterday when we talked to the Chief Minister, we got the update that, like, according to him and according to the officials, there is nobody, like, they don't believe that nobody is alive, and I mean, like, there is nobody is left to be saved alive. So definitely they are more focusing on to find the dead bodies, because you know, it's the fourth day, the rescue and search operation is entering the fourth day. So the chances are very low to find somebody alive from this debris. So the main focus, the Hitachi's JCB and all other rescue operations are mainly focusing on finding and the dead bodies under this debris. So there are two main areas. One is Mundake, and the other one is the town where I'm staying. As you can see, it's like it was a small stream earlier, but now it has formed as a big river. It's more like a big river. So the entire area is completely vanished. As many as 200 people are still missing, and according to the latest update from the government officials, we received that so far more than 200 deaths are confirmed, and more dead bodies are, you know, like body parts are finding from the nearby areas. So the death toll is likely to increase.
All right, that does sound very, very dire. Let's hope that the rescuers have luck, because now they're also getting assistance in the form of a radar that will be borne by a drone to perhaps look for survivors. Nandini Mittal is also with us from Shimla. Nandini, again a very active situation there in terms of rescue and relief. Over 40 people still missing in those incidents of cloudbursts in Himachal Pradesh. Just tell us how are the rescuers going about their work, because I believe the weather is still a bit of a challenge.
The weather is challenged because the rain is coming again and again in these areas. The main focus is now to find out the 49 missing persons from three spots, that is 2 in Kullu and 1 in Mandi district. Meanwhile, there is a news that 29 people have been rescued from the Malana Dam, and 4 other who were trapped in the cave there. They have also been rescued by the NDRF. Meanwhile, the rescue operation is on along the river Satluj to find out 36 missing people from the Kullu district, where the major cloudburst happened. Though the cloudburst happened in the Srikhand area, but the most affected area was in Kullu district, this village.
All right, Nandini and Suni, thank you so much for joining us with those updates from Wayanad and Shimla. Now, the western Indian state of Rajasthan is also receiving heavy downpours since the past 2 days, disrupting normal life and people's routines. So far, 4 people have died in rain-related incidents in Jaipur city. The Weather Agency of India has predicted isolated heavy to very heavy rainfall for the state in the upcoming week. And India's Met Department is also warned of heavy rain all over the western state of Gujarat. The state has been alerted of extremely heavy to very heavy rainfall, accompanied by thunderstorms and lightning that is very likely to take place over the region for the upcoming week as well. Let's now get to some more stories from around the country. India's Central Investigating Agency has filed its first charge sheet under various sections of the Indian Penal Code against 13 accused in NEET UG paper leak case in the central state of Bihar. Investigation against other suspects is ongoing. A fresh batch of 1,221 pilgrims left for the Amarnath Cave Shrine on Friday morning amid tight security. The pilgrims left the base camp in a cavalcade of 54 vehicles. The annual holy pilgrimage will culminate on the 19th of this month. And still to come on DD India News Hour, Dheeraj Bomadevara and Ankita Bhakat reached the quarterfinals of the archery mixed team event of the Paris Olympics. And in cricket, Sri Lanka has won the toss and elected to bat in the first one-day international match against India with the return of captain Rohit Sharma.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, the US and European stock markets on Thursday saw a decline due to strong risk aversion among investors and poor economic performance. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell by 494.82 points to 40,347.97. The British FTSE 100 index closed at 8,283.36 points, down 84.62. While the Japanese yen maintained a strong performance with its exchange rate against the US dollar rising for the third straight trading session. Indian benchmark indices Sensex and Nifty dropped nearly 1% each at mid-session on Friday. At 2 p.m. IST, Sensex was at 81,199.97, a drop of 667.58 points, while Nifty was at 24,802.20, down 208.7 points. According to a data released by National Payments Corporation of India, UPI-based transactions reached a record high for the month of July. According to the report, United Payments Interface transactions have had a surge of 35% year-on-year basis. The total month-on-month based transaction grew by 4%, amounting to 14.44 billion in July. The average daily transaction volume stood at 466 million. Now, India has retained the 8th position in global agricultural export in 2023, despite a drop in its agricultural exports, according to WTO's Trade Statistics 2023 report. Despite a drop in its agriculture exports to $51 billion from $55 billion in 2022, India kept a hold of its position in the list of largest agricultural exporters. In the year, as 7 of the top 10 exporting nations witnessed a decline. According to reports, among the top 10 farm exporters, only Brazil, the European Union and Thailand increased exports in 2023. Time now to get you all the sporting updates as well, especially from the Paris Olympics. Now, as we move ahead with day 7 of the Paris Olympics, Indian shooters Manu Bhaker and Isha Singh will eye another qualification. Here are some key events lined up for later today. Indian shooter Manu Bhaker with compatriot Isha Singh are to compete in the women's 25-meter pistol shooting rapid qualification round. Meanwhile, India's hockey team will be pitted against mighty Australia in the men's Pool B match at 4:45 p.m. IST. Team India will have to look forward to making a mark. Later in the evening, Lakshya Sen will take on Taiwan's Chu Tian Chen in a badminton men's singles quarterfinal match at 6:30 p.m. IST. And in more updates from Paris, Indian archers Dheeraj Bommadevara and Ankita Bhakat have beaten the Indonesian pair of Dianand Choirunisa and Arif Pangestu 5-1 to reach the quarterfinals of the archery mixed team event. The Indian duo won the third set and the round of 16 tie against Indonesia. It was a brilliant display by both the archers who dominated the match. They'll take on a Spanish pair later in the day for the semi-final spot. Let me now take you straight across to Paris. DD India's Narayan Singh is joining us from there. Narayan, Tell us about what we can look forward to today in terms of medal first and then, of course, qualifications.
Gautam, if you talk about today's day, it's going to be an important day. In fact, considering the fact that today in shooting, the qualification round in the 25-meter pistol event is underway, and there are 2 rounds in the 25-meter shooting pistol event. First, this is precision round where Manu Bhaker finished 3rd after the completion of the precision round, while Isha Singh is at the 8th or 9th place. So we are hoping that when the next round of the event will take place, that is dwelling round or the rapid round, where the athletes, the shooters will all again take 30 shots. The combined score of the first round, that is precision, and the score of the second round, that is dwelling round or the rapid round, will be taken combined way, and the total score will be act as the number to qualify for the finals. And right now we are hoping that the way Manu Bhaker has performed in the previous we can say event, especially in the 10-meter air pistol and the mixed team event where she won bronze, again it's looking like that she is going for another historic feat of an Indian winning 3 medals in the single edition of any Olympic Games. All in all, it's going to be great. We are waiting for the precision round, for the rapid round, what kind of performance she will deliver. And total number of points in this pistol event is 600. If on an average, if a shooter scores above 650, definitely he or she qualifies for the next round. We are hoping that both of our shooters will be there in the finals of the 25-meter pistol event. And talking about today, hockey is there, and it will act as a practice, we can say, match for the Indian hockey team, considering the fact that they are already in the finals of the tournament. If they win this match, it will help them to be a better seeding in their group, and for that reason they will play a weaker opponent from the next group. In that context, it is very important also to check their whatever mistakes they have done in the match against Belgium, and to settle there all the department. The hockey match will be crucial. If you talk about the badminton, Lakshya Sen, we know that this match is very important for the Indian badminton. The kind of form Lakshya has picked at the right moment, we are hoping that he will continue his red-hot form and will enter the next round also. And if you talk about this archery, where the players are in the quarterfinals, and if they win here, they will reach the semi-finals, and they will have to win the semi-final match if they want to be in the final. Otherwise, the loser of both the semi-finals will play a bronze medal match. All in all, it's going to be a fantastic day for India here in Paris.
Yes, let's hope it goes really well, and we are all in a much better shape when we talk about it later on in the day. Narayan, thank you so much for joining us from Paris. Now, the most accomplished gymnast Simone Biles won the all-around gymnastics title in Paris and 6th overall medal at the Olympics so far to cement her place back at the top of her sport. In a tight race between Biles and Brazil's Rebecca, the American was surprising, left trailing in the 3rd place. However, she was back on top after a solid performance on her next apparatus, which was the balance beam. Biles captured her 2nd gold medal of the Paris Games and a 2nd all-round Olympic title after also winning the individual event in Rio in 2016. She also claimed the team gold earlier this week. And the Indian Railways has promoted shooter Swapnil Kusale, who made history by securing a bronze medal in the 50-meter rifle 3 positions event at the Paris Games. Swapnil Kusale, a travelling ticket examiner or TT, was promoted to officer on special duty sports cell in Mumbai. The 28-year-old became the 3rd shooter after Manu Bhaker and Sarabjot Singh to clinch a medal for India in this edition of the Olympic Games. Sri Lanka captain Charith Asalanka has won the toss and elected to bat against India in the first one-day international game of the 3-match series in Colombo. India have included KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer, Kuldeep Yadav and Shivam Dubey in the playing 11. Rohit Sharma is back to lead the Indian side along with Virat Kohli. This will be Gautam Gambhir's first ODI series as a coach. Sri Lanka have lost 5 fast bowlers to injuries or illness of late, so a bit hampered in that department for this match. Now, in Uganda's capital, Kampala, refugees from Sudan are turning to urban farming to improve food nutrition and self-sufficiency. Smart Gardens, a project of a local charity that was started by a fellow refugee, equip the asylum seekers with seeds, tools and mentorship, enabling families to set up vegetable gardens. Uganda is struggling with nearly 1.6 million refugees, and an additional 30,000 new arrivals from Sudan is straining its resources. DD India's Isabel Nakiria reports.
Ramya Rehma's bucket garden is now a rich source of nutrition in her household. Instead of grocery shopping, Ramya harvests fresh vegetables from her urban farm to feed her family of 4. The Sudanese refugee says this has enabled her to manage life in Kampala.
If you have a small place, at least you can provide something for your family, the small family. So we start doing in our homes with the small space, with basins, like this kind of thing. Even if you have a bottle, you can use it.
Ramya and hundreds of other refugees got skills training in urban farming from a local charity in Kampala. With limited space in the city, vertical farms like this are helping refugees become self-reliant. They are even able to plant crops grown in Sudan to enrich their diets. The organization supports them with seeds and fertilizers and helps them market their vegetables so they can earn additional income.
They are very interested because this is what they can do to make themselves busy, to get a meal, and some of them are extending it to the market. So we started, and we have very success stories, and we have demos in our centers.
Uganda's friendly refugee policy allocates land to each refugee for settlement and farming, instead of just relying on food rations from the aid agencies. But refugees who choose to come to urban areas like Ramya have to fend for themselves.
New life, new environment, new culture, it is a lot. Even how to manage this life itself, it is one of the challenges we go through. The kind of lower income, to find some addition for your income, it is somehow also challenges. Education, health, a lot of things.
Nearly 30,000 refugees from Sudan have arrived in Uganda since the conflict broke out over a year ago. Ramya hopes peace can one time return to Sudan so that they can go back to their normal lives. Isabel Nakiria in Kampala, reporting for DD India.
And that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. You can scan the QR code on the screen and download the app now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.